All right, Chargers fans, let's have an honest conversation here. The draft came and went. Omarion Hampton, Trey Harris, Branson Taylor, all the names everyone's been buzzing about. Social media's been on fire, and rightfully so. Those draft picks deserve their flowers. But let me throw this question at you real quick. What if I told you the real foundation of Jim Harbaugh's rebuild didn't actually start with the draft? What if the real story, the heart of this new Chargers era, started after the cameras stopped rolling, after the analysts packed up, after the draft boards were wiped clean? Yeah, I'm talking about the undrafted guys. The guys nobody really paid much attention to when the draft was over. The guys who didn't get that call on day 3. But here's the thing. Those are exactly the types of players who come in with something to prove. And if you've been paying attention to how Jim Harbaugh runs his program, you already know that's exactly what he wants in his locker room. So let's dive in. What's up, buddies? Welcome back. If you are new here, make sure you hit the subscribe button. We cover all AFC West news here on this channel. Jim Harbaugh wasted no time flipping the script at rookie minicamp. He didn't just run the typical team walkthroughs. No, he shifted the entire structure. More individual work, more one-on-one reps, less hiding in the crowd. He wanted every single player, drafted or undrafted, to line up and show what they've got. And guess what? Some guys already started separating themselves from the pack. Jim Harbaugh went on record naming 3 players who stood out: Raheem "Rocket" Sanders, Luke Grimm, and Steo Clots. And when a coach like Harbaugh points you out that early, you better believe your name just moved up the priority list. So, let's break down why these guys might be more important than anyone realizes. Let's start with Raheem "Rocket" Sanders. If you followed college football even a little over the past couple of years, you probably heard this name. Rocket Sanders was an absolute force in Arkansas. 6'2", 225 pounds, built like a linebacker, but moves like a running back. And let me tell you, when he gets rolling downhill, good luck standing in front of that train. Go back to 2022. Over 1,400 rushing yards, 10 touchdowns, and averaging over 6.5 yards per carry in the SEC. Against Georgia, against Alabama, against the best defenses in the country. That's not a fluke, folks. That's a dude who knows how to run angry. But 2023 wasn't as kind to him. Injuries slowed him down, and like we see all the time in this league, out of sight, out of mind. His stock dipped. He transferred to South Carolina, still put up over 800 yards and 11 touchdowns, but somehow draft weekend came and went, and nobody called his name. But Jim Harbaugh was paying attention. Called his tape great. Treated him like a priority free agent the second the draft ended. And here's something that really stood out. Rocket Sanders was the only undrafted rookie who didn't have to stay after practice for extra conditioning. That's usually something the drafted players get excused from. That tells me the Chargers aren't looking at him like just another camp body. They see him as someone who might actually stick. And why not? The running back room is wide open. You've got Omarion Hampton, sure, he's your future. But behind him, what's really locked in? Joshua Kelly? Isaiah Spiller? Look, I like those guys, but let's be honest. They haven't exactly put a death grip on their roster spots. If Sanders stays healthy and keeps showing the power, vision, and downhill aggression that made him a star in the SEC, he's making this roster, maybe even pushing for meaningful snaps way sooner than people expect. Let's move on to Luke Grimm. Now, here's a name a lot of fans probably didn't even recognize when the signing was announced. But the more you look into his tape, the more you realize. This guy's been a steady producer at Kansas. No, he's not the biggest. No, he's not the fastest. But man, he's consistent. He's polished. He's smart. And you know what? Sometimes that's all you need. Grimm led Kansas in receiving last year. 51 catches, nearly 700 yards, 6 touchdowns. And get this, he's had 6 touchdowns in 3 straight seasons. That's not flash-in-the-pan production. That's steady work. Coaches love that kind of reliability. And here's where he really brings value: special teams. He returned punts. He returned kicks. And if you know anything about the NFL, you know that's how these bubble players carve out spots. The Chargers have their top receivers pretty much locked in. Ladd McConkey, Quentin Johnston, Trey Harris. But there's usually a 6th spot up for grabs. That's where Luke Grimm could slide in. Solid route runner, sure hands, and special teams versatility. Let me tell you, Coaches love those guys when they need to trim the roster down to 53. And now, let's talk about the guy who's already becoming a coach favorite, Steo Clots. Look, I get it. Nobody's rushing to buy a fullback's jersey, but every winning team needs a guy like Klotz. He's a throwback. Blue collar, started as a defensive player at Iowa State, switched to offense, carved out a role as a fullback and tight end. Two-time All-Big 12 at fullback. You don't get that kind of recognition unless your coaches trust you to do the dirty work. And guess what? Jim Harbaugh flat out said Klotz has a shot to be an above-average special teams player in the NFL. That's high praise, coming from a coach who doesn't hand out compliments for free. Klotz isn't going to put up crazy stats. He's not going to fill up your fantasy team. But watch the tape. Watch the lead blocks. Watch the punt coverage. Watch the kickoff returns. That's where you'll find him. And knowing Harbaugh's history of using fullbacks in heavy packages, I wouldn't be shocked at all if Klotz sneaks onto this roster as a utility player. The guy you don't think about until it's 4th and 1, and he delivers a game-saving block. But listen, it doesn't stop there. Let's talk about a couple more names who might fly under the radar but are already turning some heads. DJ Uiagalelei. Yeah, remember him? Former 5-star quarterback. Started at Clemson, transferred twice, and now here he is. An undrafted rookie trying to find his place in the NFL. Jim Harbaugh has already been spotted coaching him up during drills, and that tells me they're not just letting him stand around with a clipboard. Now, I'm not saying he's pushing Justin Herbert. Nobody's touching QB1, but the backup battle? Taylor Heinicke, Trey Lance, DJ Uiagalelei. That's going to be one to watch. And let's not sleep on Jordan Oladokin, cornerback out of Bowling Green. Led his team with 5 interceptions last season. The Chargers brought in 4 undrafted corners because they know they need help at that position. Oladokin's already shown ball skills. 1 or 2 big plays in preseason. He might just find himself in that cornerback rotation. Let's move to the trenches, because Harbaugh didn't ignore the big men up front. Savion Washington, 6'9", 340 pounds. Let that sink in. That's not just size. That's Goliath-level size. Harbaugh brought in 4 massive offensive linemen because he knows this team needs more power up front. The depth on the offensive line is far from settled, and these guys are going to get every chance to fight for roster spots. And one more name for you, Marlowe Wax at linebacker. Nearly 300 career tackles at Syracuse. Undersized, sure, but productive. Tough. Football, smart. That's the kind of player who sticks on special teams and works his way up the ladder. At the end of the day, here's what it comes down to. Jim Harbaugh is building something different in LA. This isn't just about collecting 5-star names, it's about building a tough, hungry, competitive roster. A locker room full of players who show up every day with something to prove. No draft status guarantees you anything. No star rating saves your job. Harbaugh is making everyone earn it. And honestly, that's the kind of culture this franchise has needed for a long, long time. So, here's the real question. Who's your favorite underdog in this group? Is it Rocket Sanders, Luke Grimm, Steo Clots, maybe DJ Uiagalelei, or one of those big offensive linemen? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I want to know who you're rooting for.